Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on general psychology. I am Dr. Olivia Kakati Sharma. I'm a psychologist and researcher and I'm also UGC NET qualified. I've completed my PhD from University of Delhi and I have completed my MSc in clinical psychology from Christ University, Bangalore. So in this ongoing lecture series on general psychology today, I'm going to talk about memory. Okay. So in this journey, we will talk about what is memory, what are the different systems of memory. Then we will talk about the different models of memory. Okay. And we will wind up our discussion with the different types of memory. So let us begin. Now, what is memory? Okay. When we hear the word memory, the first thing what comes to our mind is the different things that are stored in us, right? So memory is sometimes correlated with that of a store, but we see that a memory is more than that. Okay, it is defined as the active mental system, active mental system. So memory is not just an information store, but it is an active mental system where information is constantly being encoded, stored and retrieved from time to time. So why is studying memory important? Because memory is very fundamental to learning, identity as well as everyday functioning, right? So from the moment on we wake up in the morning, everything that we do is dependent on our memory, right? So when you first wake up from your bed, you want to find where your pair of slippers are, right? So that involves retrieving of information about where you kept your slippers last night before sleeping, right? So from the very small tasks to actually doing well in exams or doing something meaningful, everything has some component of memory embedded in it. Okay. So from remembering passwords to processing emotional experiences, memory is central to both adaptive behavior as well as to clinical dysfunction. Okay. So if we look at the definition of memory, we see that memory is not a single entity but a set of interrelated systems. Okay, that operate across different time scales. So we see in this definition there are three important points. What are these three important points? Firstly, memory is not a single entity. Okay, it is not a single entity. If it is not a single entity, what is it? It is a set of interrelated systems. So, it is not just a single entity but different interrelated systems. Why interrelated? Because all are working together to produce a certain kind of output. And this third very interesting point which is important is that it operates across different time scales. Now, when you hear this, aren't you curious that why is it operating across different time scales? Why is that? Because, like I said, memory is not just limited to storing. Okay, so you see that it encodes various information. So in the present, what is happening? It is memory units are encoding the information that we are receiving. Okay, from sensory inputs, whatever information is coming to us in the present, the memory units or the memory systems are encoding it. Then it is also stored. Okay, so whatever past information was there, that has been already stored in our memory. So present and past has already been taken care of. And thirdly, it also retrieves information. Okay, so in the future, suppose after 10 days from today, if somebody will ask you what you were doing 10 days prior, so what is happening? The retrieval from in the future, the information is being retrieved from the past. Okay, that is why it is said to operate across different time scales. Okay, so the element of past, present and future is embedded in the memory systems. Next, now that we have mentioned memory systems, let's talk about what these memory systems are. So in the case of cognitive psychology, psychologists usually divide memory systems into 3 interacting systems. Okay, so there are 3 different kinds of memory systems which interact with each other to retrieve information, to store information and to encode it as it comes. Okay, now let's have a look at what are these 3 systems. Number 1 is our sensory memory. Okay, so what is sensory memory? That is the first brief retention of sensory input. So you all know that we have 5 senses, right? Sense of sight, sense of touch, sense of smell and so on, right? So whatever information we derive from this senses, okay, from these senses comprise of the sensory input. Okay, so once we get some information from these 5 sense organs, that information is briefly retained, briefly as in for a while it is retained in the memory system called the sensory memory. It's very easy to remember since it's retaining sensory input, so it's called the sensory memory system. Okay, then next comes the short-term memory system. Short-term memory system, so again, as the name itself suggests, it's a temporary storage. Okay, it's a temporary storage unit of limited information. So for a short while, this is very, very brief, very short, but a little more than that comes the short-term memory system where information, limited form of information can be stored for a short period of time. Okay, then comes the long-term memory. So long-term memory differs from short-term memory in terms of both its capacity as well as the nature of storage. Okay, so short-term memory can only store a limited amount of information. We'll talk about that, how much it stores. But long-term memory sort of has a limitless capacity. There is no limit to the information long-term memory can store. And also, unlike short-term memory, this is very durable in nature. Okay, the storage is not temporary, but it is durable, and with certain recall and retrieval techniques, information from the long-term memory can be retrieved at a later point in time. Okay, so these 3 memory systems, we will talk a little bit more about that. But before that, let me tell you that these 3 memory systems, the sensory memory, the short-term memory and the LTM, okay, sensory memory, short-term memory and the LTM are all interconnected with each other. Okay, and they form the foundation of the most famous model of theory of memory, or the model of memory called the Atkinson-Shiffrin Model, or the information processing theory of memory. Okay, now let's try to understand a little bit more about this. First is what we call the sensory memory. Okay, so what happens is that sensory memory captures an exact replica of any sort of incoming sensory information. Okay, so like I said, sensory memory captures an exact replica of incoming sensory information, and it stores it for a very brief moment. Okay, so what does this mean? That any sort of stimuli we see in the environment, what does this sensory memory do? It, like a small, image or a small replica of what stimuli we see in the environment, or whatever the, not just see, whatever stimuli we witness in the environment, a exact replica of that incoming sensory information is replicated in our sensory memory storage for a very brief moment. Okay, so sensory memory can be divided into two components. One is the iconic memory and one is the echoic memory. Echoic memory. So, iconic memory and echoic memory. Okay, so iconic memory holds the visual input. Iconic memory is something that depends on our visual input. That is what we see with our eyes. And how long does it store? Briefly, about for 0.5 to a second. Okay, that is the storage limit of sensory memory. Whereas our echoic memory, it retains auditory information for up to 4 seconds. Okay, so the storage limit of the echoic memory and iconic memory differs a little bit. Okay, so this holds, the iconic memory holds the visual input, whereas the echoic memory holds the auditory information, and for the time that it holds it is, for iconic memory, it's 0.5 to 1 second, half a second or a second, whereas in case of echoic memory, it is up till like 4 seconds. Okay. Next, so these echoic memory and iconic memory allow us to process and interpret stimuli before they fade. Okay, so these kind of memories, the sensory memory plays a very, very significant role in terms of the fact that it allows us to process or to interpret what stimuli we are witnessing before they fade away. Okay, for example, if we see a moving bus, it's not like that moving bus is going to be there at the same place for a long time, right? It is moving. So it is there for like some few fractions of seconds, right? So before we process that information further and understand that, oh, this is a bus which is moving. So that, processing thing is that processing process is first, led through the sensory memory storage. Okay, the sensory memory system.